based on the title helped her, and she left him her fortune. It was a chilly autumn afternoon when 17-year-old Jamal walked home from his part-time job at a local grocery store. The streets were crowded with people, all too busy with their own lives to notice much around them. As he passed the busy intersection near the city park, something unusual caught his eye. A frail old woman standing by the crosswalk, looking lost and disoriented. She clutched a worn handbag and stared at the street signs with confused, watery eyes. Dozens of people walked by without even glancing at her. A few gave her irritated looks, assuming she was just another homeless person asking for help. But Jamal felt something stir inside him. His mother had always told him, "You never know someone's story until you stop to listen." He approached her gently. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman blinked and turned toward him. "I'm trying to get to Maplewood Avenue. I think I took the wrong bus. I'm not sure where I am anymore." Jamal offered his arm. "Maplewood is a bit far from here, but I can walk you to a cab or ride with you on the bus, if that's okay." The woman smiled, a soft, grateful smile that seemed to warm the air around them. "Thank you, young man. Most people just passed me by." As they walked and talked, Jamal learned her name was Mrs. Eleanor Hastings. She was polite, sharp when she spoke, and full of small observations that made Jamal laugh. She reminded him of his grandmother who had passed away the year before. He got her home safely, waited until she was inside, and even helped carry her groceries in from her doorstep. The next day, a black car pulled up in front of Jamal's apartment. A man in a tailored suit stepped out and handed him an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Mrs. Hastings. "Dear Jamal, your kindness touched me more than you could know. I spent a lifetime building wealth, but lately I've questioned its worth. Until I met you. Please meet my attorney." Jamal was stunned. Over the next few weeks, he discovered that Mrs. Hastings wasn't just a lost old woman. She was a retired tech investor worth over $100 million. She had no children, no close family, and had been quietly searching for someone to entrust with her legacy. In her will, she left Jamal a multi-million-dollar trust, not just money, but also her home, and funding to go to college and build the non-profit he always dreamed of, one that would support and empower youth in underserved communities. The story made national headlines, but Jamal never cared for the fame. He just kept living by what his mother taught him. Kindness isn't something you do for reward, it's something you do because it's right. And in this case, it changed his life forever. Would you like this adapted as a short script? Passed after Jamal received the fortune, but he never let the money change who he was. He stayed grounded, still helping his neighbours, still volunteering at the youth centre, and still taking the bus most days, even though he could now afford anything he wanted. With Mrs. Hastings' blessing before her passing, Jamal used part of the inheritance to launch a community initiative called Eleanor's Bridge, a non-profit focused on connecting elderly citizens with at-risk youth. The idea was simple: build friendships across generations, where young people could learn wisdom and compassion, and seniors could feel seen, heard, and valued. The impact was immediate. Teens who once skipped school started showing up to the centre every day, just to talk to their elders. Seniors who had felt invisible now had a reason to wake up smiling. Local businesses took notice, offering grants and partnerships. Even the mayor came by for a ribbon-cutting ceremony, calling Jamal a symbol of hope for a divided city. But Jamal didn't stop there. He enrolled in college, studying social entrepreneurship. He also began mentoring other teens, teaching them not only how to lead, but how to listen. His story inspired others to look twice before judging someone on the street, to offer a hand instead of a glance. Years later, Jamal stood on the TED stage, sharing his journey. Behind him was a photo, him and Mrs. Hastings, sitting on her porch, smiling with cups of tea in hand. He closed with the words, "One act of kindness won't change the world overnight, but it might change someone's world. That's how it starts." And in the crowd, people didn't just clap, they stood. Because they knew Jamal didn't just receive a fortune, he became one. Would you like a third part, or want this turned into a children's story screenplay like Ripple Effect? As Jamal's non-profit, Eleanor's Bridge, grew, so did its reach. Chapters began opening in cities across the country, all led by youth who had once felt ignored or underestimated, just like Jamal had. Stories poured in, teens reconnecting with their purpose, elderly folks finding joy again, families reunited because of a simple conversation sparked at the centre. But the real surprise came one evening when Jamal received a letter marked confidential. Inside was a handwritten note. "You don't know me, but I was one of those people who walked by Eleanor that day. I saw her, confused and alone, and I did nothing. I've regretted it ever since. Watching what you did with that moment, it changed me. I now volunteer every weekend at a shelter. Thank you." There were hundreds more just like it. It became clear Jamal's single act of kindness didn't just help Eleanor or even just himself. It had sparked a movement. Later, a major publisher offered him a book deal. Jamal hesitated at first. He didn't want fame, just change. But after visiting a school in Detroit where kids had read his story and started their own youth-led kindness club, he agreed. The book was titled One Hand, One Heart: The Day Kindness Changed Everything. It became a bestseller, translated into over 20 languages. And then Hollywood called. A major studio offered to turn his life into a film. Jamal insisted on just one thing. "If you make this movie, don't make me the hero. Make the choice the hero. The choice to stop, the choice to help, the choice anyone can make." The movie premiered 2 years later with a standing ovation at every screening. Eleanor's story, once a forgotten old woman on the corner, was now inspiring millions around the world. Past. Jamal was no longer the teen who once held Eleanor Hastings' hand at a street corner. He was now a global figure, invited to speak summits, universities, even the UN, where he talked about intergenerational empathy and the hidden power of unnoticed people. But Jamal always returned home, not to fame, not to interviews, but to the local centre he'd built in Eleanor's name, where he could sit in the back, have tea with old friends and listen to kids share their dreams. Eleanor's house, which Jamal had preserved exactly as it was, had become a living museum. The House of Hope, where people from all over the world came to hear the story that started it all. Then one morning, Jamal received a letter from a girl named Ava, age 11, who had visited the museum with her class. Her note read, "Dear Mr. Jamal, I never thought grown-ups cared about kids like me. But now I do. I want to help people like you did. I want to be someone's Eleanor." That single line hit Jamal harder than any award or headline ever had. I want to be someone's Eleanor. It was proof his legacy wasn't in buildings or books. It was in people. It was in Ava. It was in the hundreds of kids who now stopped to help when others walked by. It was in the millions who realized that kindness is not weakness. It's a superpower. And when Jamal eventually passed the torch years later, it wasn't to a celebrity or investor. It was to a shy, brilliant teenager named Malik who had once been mentored at the centre. Someone who knew exactly what it meant to be seen when no one else was looking. Jamal never stopped saying the same thing. You never know how much the smallest act can matter. But if you lead with compassion, everything else will follow. And because of that belief, the world never passed by the forgotten again.